Good morning. I want to think with you this morning, about this week, Holy Week. But I want to title it a little bit differently. This is a week of choices. The last week of Jesus' life takes up almost half of the gospel accounts for the synoptics, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. They tell of these Holy Week events in great detail, indicating the extreme importance of each day. In this devotional, I want to look at these events of the last week with very special attention to the choices which Jesus faced, and therefore the decisions which were required because he faced these choices. An extremely important factor is brought to light as we talk about choices and decisions. Were these really Jesus' choices? Did he have the power to choose? Did he have the power to say yes or no to these choices? If we are talking about the love of Jesus as the Christ, then we're definitely talking about Jesus' power to choose, because love only operates in the freedom of choice. Otherwise, Jesus becomes a sort of puppet on a string, with someone pulling all the strings, making all the choices for him, determining his every move and action. I want to say to you very strongly, very emphatically, that I do not believe that Jesus' life was determined for him. Every choice that he makes is a real, valid, genuine choice. He had the power to choose what he would do. Love always has to act in the context of true freedom, or it is not true and genuine love. Look with me then at some of the many choices that Jesus was faced with to make during this last week of his life. When he's ready to enter Jerusalem, he sends two of his disciples to get a young donkey to ride on so that he can enter Jerusalem. Conquering heroes always rode on white horses as they made their triumphal entry into the conquered territory. Jesus chose a young donkey, the symbol of humility and meekness. On Monday, Jesus makes a startling and deliberate choice to do something about the terrible situation that was going on in the temple. There is no other word we can honestly use to describe Jesus' feelings about the abuses and the scams that were going on in the temple. No other word. He was angry. He felt anger, and he decided what to do with his anger, which is, of course, within his power and within our power. We choose to do something with our feelings. We feel, and then we choose to do what we will do with and about those feelings. Strong anger for Jesus, intense emotional anger. So Jesus chooses to demonstrate his anger by physically entering the temple, overturning the tables of the money changers, and overturning the seats, flipping the seats of those who sold doves and pigeons. In our day, we would call it a protest, a physically violent protest. And I mean to say that our Jesus, our Savior, acting out and demonstrating to the authorities of the temple his disgust, anger, and inner revulsion at the treatment of those who had come to pray, pay their taxes, and worship. Yes, that's precisely what Jesus is doing. What a challenging and potentially very confrontive and costly protest on Jesus' part. And Jesus Christ, our Savior, did exactly that by choice. Then Jesus tells this confronting parable, and some others as well. chooses to tell this dramatic parable about the wicked husbandmen who wind up killing the son of the owner of the vineyard to protect their inheritance. And this was a confrontive, very confrontive parable that Jesus chooses to tell. And then the teaching in parables which are most confrontive to the rulers. The Garden of Gethsemane is the scene of choices, one after the other. Jesus' prayer brings the choice front and center for us. Remember the words, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt." A choice, a decision to make. What will I do in this circumstance? The most confrontive and demanding choice that Jesus encounters in his whole life. One that you and I may have prayed in times, trying times, in our own lives. What do I do now, given this circumstance, these problems, these issues? In this situation, what do I do? What is God's will for my life? And so we're faced, as Jesus was, with a choice and a decision. And we must choose. A decision is demanded by me. Not only what would Jesus do, but also what would Jesus have me do? And that question faces us again and again, doesn't it? Choices. Then there is the signal instance of one of those who were with Jesus, drawing his sword and cutting off the ear of the slave of the high priest. Remember that story? Put your sword back in its place, Jesus says. Do you think that I could not appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? Don't you know I could solve this? I could save myself? Yes, those are thoughts. They're a part of the choice that Jesus faced. And his answer, his choice is, no, I do not choose that way. Move with me to the crucifixion scene. Jesus has been nailed to the cross. Some of those who were coming by taunted Jesus with these inviting words. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross. Question: could Jesus have come down off the cross? Did he have the power within him to come down off the cross? Did he choose to stay? The answer has to be yes. If he did not have the power, he had no choice. If Jesus had the power, he chose not to use that power. Remember, love always has to act in the context of freedom. Jesus, choosing not to use his power, stays on the cross and, of course, dies. His final words, and these are strategic words, his final words are, "Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit." A prayer of ultimate faith in God, the result of choices made by Jesus the Christ. Remember, when you take the Lord's Supper, Jesus used these words of institution as he took the bread. This is my body, which is given for you, not taken from me. This is my body, which is given for you. And so as you eat the bread, you eat the gift that Jesus chose to give for you, for me, and for everyone who ever would receive Jesus as the Christ. Celebrate Holy Week, remembering the choices that Jesus made for you and me.